"You're fired." Those two words echoed across the glass-walled office, sharp and cold like a slap. Everyone froze. The room that had been buzzing with quiet work suddenly felt heavy, as if the air itself had stopped moving. In the middle of it all stood a man holding a small birthday cake, its candles still flickering. He wasn't just an employee. He was a father, and today was supposed to be a special day. Before we begin, if stories like this touch your heart, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Echoes of Stories, where every story leaves a mark. Daniel Carter had never asked for much from life. A steady job, a small apartment, and enough love to raise his 8-year-old son, Liam, that was his world. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise, made breakfast, packed Liam's lunch, and dropped him at school before heading to work. He worked as a mid-level analyst at a large corporate firm in Chicago. The kind of place where people wore suits, spoke in numbers, and rarely looked up from their screens. But Daniel was different. He greeted the janitor by name. He helped interns understand reports. He stayed late to assist colleagues who were struggling. Kindness was his habit, not his strategy. That morning was special. It was Liam's birthday. Daniel had promised he'd come home early, that they would celebrate together, just the two of them. But something unexpected came up, a last-minute meeting called by the CEO, Victoria Hale. Victoria was known for her sharp mind and even sharper decisions. She didn't believe in excuses. To her, business was simple, results mattered, not stories. Daniel rushed into the office carrying a small cake he had picked up during his lunch break. He had planned to leave early, but the meeting had been scheduled just before he could. "I'll just attend, then go," he told himself. But life had other plans. The meeting room was packed. Executives, managers, assistants, all seated, tense. Victoria stood at the front, her expression unreadable. She began reviewing numbers, pointing out mistakes, calling out delays. Then her eyes landed on Daniel. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice calm but cutting, "your report from last quarter, late and inconsistent." Daniel stood up, holding the cake box in one hand. "Ma'am," I explained, "my son was." "I don't recall asking for personal details," she interrupted. "This company doesn't run on excuses." The room fell silent. Daniel swallowed hard. "I understand. But I've been meeting all targets since then, and..." Victoria stepped forward, her heels clicking against the floor. "We need people who are consistent all the time. Not when it's convenient." She extended a white envelope toward him. "You're done here. You're fired." Gasps rippled through the room. Daniel stared at the envelope, then at the small cake on the table. The candles had started to melt, wax dripping slowly. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, quietly, he placed the cake down, blew out the candles, and picked up the envelope. "Thank you for the opportunity," he said softly. No anger. No argument. Just dignity. As he walked out, a few employees lowered their heads. One in turn wiped her tears. But Victoria didn't react. She simply turned back to the screen and continued the meeting. That evening, Daniel sat across from Liam in their small apartment. The cake was slightly smudged, but Liam's smile was bright. "Did you leave work early like you promised?" Liam asked. Daniel paused, then smiled gently. "Yeah, buddy. I'm right here, aren't I?" They laughed, cut the cake, and for a moment, everything felt okay. But later that night, after Liam had fallen asleep, Daniel sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the termination letter. Bills piled on the table. Rent was due soon. Still, he didn't curse Victoria. He didn't blame the world. Instead, he whispered, "I'll figure it out." And he did. The next morning, he began applying for jobs. Rejections came quickly. Weeks passed. Savings ran low. But Daniel didn't change who he was. He helped a neighbor fix her car for free. He volunteered at a local community center. He tutored kids in math, sometimes without charging a dime. "Why do you help people when you're struggling?" a friend once asked. Daniel smiled. "Because someone always needs it more." One day, while volunteering, he met an elderly man named Mr. Whitaker. Quiet, observant, always watching. They talked often. Daniel helped him carry groceries, listened to his stories, and never once asked for anything in return. What Daniel didn't know was that Mr. Whitaker wasn't just another retiree. He was a major shareholder in the very company Daniel had been fired from. 90 days passed. The company had been struggling. Internal issues, declining morale, poor decisions at the top. Investors were losing confidence. A board meeting was called. Victoria stood at the head of the table again, but this time, the room felt different. Tense in a new way. Mr. Whitaker entered quietly and took a seat. "I've been observing this company closely," he began. "And I believe it needs new leadership. Not just smart leadership, but human leadership." Victoria frowned. "With all due respect, our strategies are." "Your strategies lack heart," he interrupted. The board murmured. "And I've found someone who understands both numbers and people." The door opened. Daniel Carter walked in. The same man who had been fired, now dressed in a simple suit, calm and steady. Victoria's eyes widened. "This is our new chairman," Mr. Whitaker announced. Silence. Daniel looked around the room. No anger in his eyes. No pride. Just quiet strength. Victoria stood frozen. This is absurd." Daniel spoke gently. "No, it's necessary." He walked to the head of the table. "I was once in this room, standing where many of you are. I know what it feels like to be overlooked, dismissed, unheard." He paused. "But I also know what kindness can do. It builds trust. It creates loyalty. It changes lives." He looked at Victoria. "I don't hate you. In fact, I learned something valuable that day." The room leaned in. "I learned that no matter how powerful you are, you should never forget the people who carry the weight of your decisions." Victoria lowered her gaze. Daniel continued, "This company will succeed again. But not through fear. Through respect. Through understanding." Over the next few months, things began to change. Policies improved. Employees felt valued. Productivity rose. And Victoria? She stayed, but she changed. One day, she approached Daniel. "I was wrong," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "We all are sometimes." She hesitated. "Why didn't you take revenge?" Daniel smiled softly. "Because kindness builds more than revenge ever could." And somewhere, in a small apartment filled with laughter, Liam hugged his father tightly. "Are you still coming home early today?" he asked. Daniel laughed. "Always." Because no matter how high he climbed, he never forgot the promise that mattered most. And that's the truth about kindness. It may seem small in the moment, but its impact travels farther than we ever imagine. So the next time you have a choice, choose kindness. Because one day, it might just come back and change your entire world.